Alrighty, I thought I'd do a little bit of an intro for this one. It's going to be a long one. Might want to grab something to eat, something to drink, sit back, relax, enjoy, maybe take notes. I don't know. I'm going to go through this whole permanent water change system, this DIY permanent water change system that I built. No drilling, all drip irrigation parts. And so it's all pretty much well, I was going to say cut and paste, but there's no glue involved either. It's just drip irrigation parts. They're all barbed fittings, and there's a couple compression fittings down on the end here that I'm not happy with, that I'll probably have to redo a little bit. This is a work in progress, and it works, and it's kind of cool. So the idea was to build a time saver. Usually I would go from tank to tank to tank to drain and then refill. And hang on, it's hard work. So I got my coffee and I'm rattling stuff around here. So when I drain the tanks, I would use this piece of PVC pipe with a ball valve, and this fitting here on the end, which comes off of a Graco airless paint sprayer. These are hose threads here. So on the end of this thing is a hose fitting that goes into 1/2-inch PVC pipe. So that just threads right in. Now this is also the same fitting that I have on the permanent drain line, that if you haven't watched that video, go check it out. I'll put links at the end. And it's also coming up, just a little quick review here. So it'll be just a few minutes into this video. The one thing I got to do with this is start a siphon every time. So sometimes I'm lucky enough, I'll stick the garden hose here and it's all rolled up, and I'll hang this in a tank and open the valve, and I'll start rolling the garden hose out. And if I roll it out fast enough, I can actually draw water out of the tank, start a siphon. And then all I've got to remember to do is shut this ball valve off when I take this out and put it into the next tank. Otherwise, I break the siphon, and then I got to start sucking on the end of the garden hose to try and get a siphon going. So that's how I drain the tanks. And then this is how I refill the tanks. And I still do this with the tanks that aren't hooked up to this system. Garden hose goes in, quarter turn ball valve, and water comes out, and it refills the tanks. And I left this PVC 90 or PVC L, whatever you like, loose, so I can point it whatever way I want, straight out, right or left. Works really well. But it's time consuming, because into one tank, drain it, into the next tank, drain it, into the next tank, drain it. And then with these, the fill rig, and I just put up a little video on how to build a fill rig, into the tank to fill, out, into the tank, the next tank to fill, out, and so on. And on this rack, 9 times. Took several hours. Now I got to do, and it may still take some time, but I don't have to drag hoses. I do. I actually have to drag 2 hoses. One in, pressure going into the fill valves. I'll show you that in a bit. And the other hose just going out to the lawn, and it'll drain everything out to the lawn, and I don't have to be dragging hoses from tank to tank to tank. Ideally a time saver. I'll put up a parts list well, not so much a list. I'll put up a diagram of the parts I use. That's going to vary depending on how you want to go about it. I could have done this all in PVC fittings, but I chose to do it in drip fittings. And like I said, no drilling of the tanks. So that made it really simple. It's just creating permanently filled drains for each tank. And then they're all on a valve. They're all individually valved. So I can just do one at a time that way. I can do one and not any of the others if I want. So it's not I would love not to have to drag a hose in to refill tanks, and another hose in to drain all the tanks. I'd love for that to all be plumbed somewhere, but this is kind of an island in the middle of a concrete slab in the garage. There's no place to do that. So anyway, bear with me. I hope you stick around to the end. Hopefully there's a lot of good information for you DIYers that have never worked with drip stuff, drip irrigation stuff, or done anything like this. So maybe you'll learn a thing or two. If you do, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button. This is going out to members first, and then it'll come along to the public. If you're not a member and you're seeing this, so that means it's finally gone public. Think about joining the channel. The subscriptions or the membership's $2.99 a month, and I do stuff like this. Hopefully I do things that you can benefit from, that you can learn from. And then please hit that like button, and follow along. And like I said, go get something to eat and drink and kick back and have a ball. See you in the video. All right, this is Ron, Garage Aquatics 2023. I'm at World Headquarters. I'm sitting on the tailgate of my truck. The other side is World Headquarters. Now, a few days ago, I put up a video, and it was a review of a permanent drain line that I had installed on my 75-gallon tank. This thing, if you recall, it's permanent because it sits here all the time. And that's the intake back here, this screen. Water goes up and down and out, and it ends up going through this ball valve. It's off right now, and out this hose fitting, garden hose out to the front lawn, and that drains the tank. Well, then I told you I was going to put a system in on these shelves. There's 4 29-gallon tanks on the top. We're not counting the 5-gallon there, and there are 5 20-gallon tanks on the bottom. And again, we're not counting the 5. We'll do those by hand. It'd be easier. I don't know. Maybe it won't. But I can always add to the system. So let's go see what we got. I ordered all the parts online from Home Depot, so I didn't have to go chase parts because some of the stuff I needed was in 2 different stores. I thought, well, it's just easier to just wait a couple days. They'll bring it all right to my front door. And guess what? They did. We'll do a bit of an unboxing while we're at it. When I did that video about the permanent drain line review, somebody chimed in and asked if I would share prices. Well, they're going to vary no matter where you are, but I'll put up what I paid on the screen. I'll also put up all the parts that I'm using. They're going to vary depending on your specific particular setup. Now, there's a couple things that aren't in the boxes. These are hose clips. I'm going to open this because I think these will be the right ones. I hope. Otherwise, I'm going to have a whole bunch of these. These are intended to go around the poly pipe. They'll squeeze up. That should work. So there's a bag of these. I got these at Amazon, and I'll list that up there. These are called 3/4 inch line clamps, stainless steel, cushioned. And this rubber part's the cushioning. Small box first. See what we got here. Oh, goody. More brown paper, because I use that. Now, what I ended up doing was buying the parts in bags. It was just, it was cheaper, and I'm going to use most of them. All the parts here, I think maybe except for 1 or 2, are going to be 1/2 inch. And I chose barb fittings. These are elbows for 90 degree turns. Barbed, there's the barbs. These will go into the pipe. There are also ones they call compression fittings that go over the pipe. They're bigger. They're a little bit more expensive. That wasn't so much the issue. It's just that they're bigger. So I thought this would be a little more streamlined and hopefully make it a little more elegant. And if there's any problems with leakage around the poly pipe here, I can always put a hose clamp on these. So these are the 90 degrees, and I got 2 bags of those, 20 per bag. Seems to me I only ordered. Yeah, anyway, we'll figure that out. And here's a 20 bag of T connectors. All right, so these split the flow of water. Water comes in from one direction, takes off in 2. And then also I've got these, I'm going to use these Tech screws here to hold these onto the steel shelves, and little washers just to so that these little heads don't slip through the holes on these clamps. And then this box. And once again, more brown paper. All right, and here, 100 feet of poly pipe, 1/2 inch poly pipe, a bunch of these valves, 1/4 turn valves, and then these will go in like that all the way. And there should be 20. Then there should be 2 of these. These are the compression type fittings. These are the ones that go over the pipe. 1/2 inch for poly pipe by hose, garden hose, and then some couplings. And as the name implies, these couple things together, couple 2 pieces of poly pipe together. It's a junction, a joint, whatever. And what do we need? Well, since this is all barbed, or compression with those hose fittings. We don't need any glue, but what we need is a cutter. Now these are different from PVC cutters. These are the PVC pipe cutters. Put a piece of PVC in there, and it ratchets down, cuts through the piece of pipe. But this is intended for poly pipe. I haven't used these in a long time. Hopefully they're sharp enough. And these are not ratchet, I don't believe. They are just strictly squeeze. Probably give it a little twist to get it started. And it wants to thread it. So let's see how this is. Maybe it's just one of these. I don't know. These are rigid. They should be a good brand. I'm not happy with the way that's cutting. So we'll move on. Yeah, that's junk. Yeah, I don't like that at all. Let's try these. It's actually a cleaner cut. So I think we'll go with that. So let's see. What are we going to do here? First thing I did, I made a sketch. Sketched it all out. That's how I came up with a parts list. Okay, so the water is going to come in from out here outside the garage and go in and then come back out in a separate hose, drain onto the lawn. So let's start with, I don't know, should we start with the gazindas or the gazaudas? Let's start with the gazaudas. So the gazaudas need to be on two sides. That's the outflow. So on these two tanks, these two 29-gallon tanks, I'm going to run a hose or a piece of pipe down inside, from the inside up and over to the outside, down to this metal rack here, and I will put a valve down here. I can open to allow water to come out. I'll show you how we charge it all when we get to that point. And that will come down this way and go out around the corner, down to where I'm going to tie in the garden hose to drain. And on this one, same thing. We're going to come out here, go down, valve down here, and it's going to go down this way and connect to this hose. Then we're going to do the same thing down below, one out of each tank, out of each one of these 5 tanks. It'll come up and out and go down to the rack. There will be a valve at each tank, so I can control each tank individually. And the drain line will all connect. So I'll run one tank at a time. I'm going to run 5 at a time, I suppose, to drain them. And then, you know, because of the nature of those valves, you can throttle the flow, which means, you know, partially open, partially close. And then on the other side here, these top tanks, same. Water comes out. Water will come up and out and go down to a valve, come across, and then pick up this tank where water will come up and out and go down and out. And this one will wrap the corner and tie into the other side. So it'll all come out one hose. Now on each one of those pickups coming out of the tank, this wasn't my first choice, but and it's certainly, it's probably the least expensive. I was looking for some sort of stainless steel screens that I could use to keep shrimp and fish from getting drawn out. But what I ended up getting here are pre-filters from Aquarium Co-op, the pre-filter sponges. So let's see what that is. I need 9. I bought 10. Oh, look. Oh, killifish. Cool. I think the last couple I gave to my wife. There they are. So let's see. I thought they were a bigger hole. That's going to be a really tight fit, which is probably all right. I thought these were the same ones I bought for my Aqua Clears for pre-filters. I think I got the medium. It says medium. So let's see. Oh yeah, that'll be a nice tight fit. And it's only going to filter anything from down below, bottom of the hole, probably about this much. And I guess I could let them run down more. I could even slot this pipe if I wanted to get cocky here. But that's going to be the pickup on every one of these. So now what we need to do is take some measurements. So I'm going to run the bottom of the sponge filter about to here. I probably won't ever take that much water out, but if I need to, so I'm going to measure from the top down to about here, and I'm going to do all four the same. So I'm going to set those up first, and then the distance across here, the top, and I'm going to leave the one on the outside long for now. So what do we need? Tape measure from the top down. Yeah, I guess about 12 inches on the inside. And I'm going to say 2 feet on the outside. I'm just going to let that run long. I'm going to come back for a measurement across the top so I can make that as tight as possible. Let's go do that. So 12 inches inside length and 24 inches outside length. And across the top, we'll see. I've got 100 feet of this stuff, so I should have plenty. On a hot day, this stuff gets a lot more flexible. So I'm just holding on with my thumb, and I'm going to use the PVC cutters instead, because the other ones are garbage, and it just goes right through. So what I'm going to do is just use that same piece to measure. Start it there, go around to the inside, butt it up, and just keep using the same one. The 90s are the ones I needed most of anyway. So let's get these started. Push and wiggle. So what I've come up with is I need a piece of pipe that just butts up to these two together. Pull a couple out of the bag so we don't have the pipe to screw with us. Put these together here. Lay this out. It's locked inside to inside. So 2 inches should do. 2 inches. Because the lip of the tank is actually, it's going to be a little loose because the lip of the tank isn't quite that wide. And those will vary depending on the size of the tanks too. There's one. One short, one long. And those hit. That's as tight as it gets. I missed. Well, that's all I need. Hopefully that'll do it. So here we are. There's 4 of these now. Let's go see where the valve's going to fit. We'll take one of these with us too. This will go there. We'll bring the tape measure just in case. And we'll bring the pipe cutters just in case. So far to make all those fittings with a little bit of munging around only took about 12 minutes so far. So this, spooking the hell out of that poor fish. I'm going to turn this point out. I'm going to drop it in. Then this goes down, and I'll just drill a hole in the glass and put a clamp there, right? You know I'm kidding, yeah. But I think I will put the valve a couple inches above the bottom of or above the top of the black part here. Yeah, we'll go with 4 inches. So that's about where I'll put the valve. It'll go right in there. So let's just put it in. I'd like to have it maybe below where the sponge is. And hopefully this stuff just straightens out over time. I have no idea. There we go. And then we know it's got to go on the other end here. It says dig, letters up, just because it looks good. But I would suggest don't necessarily buy the cheapest ones you can find. All right, so there it is. That's the way it's going to go. I think I might have to put a 90 down here. I'll put a 90 around here to get it to go along the tank. So let's cut that in. So we'll put one of these elbows in, kind of on an angle, leaning back towards the shelf, and then the pipe will just run right down the shelf. Oh, I could go this route. I like that better. Go around the edge of the shelf. I like that better. And then I cut this down here so it runs around the middle of the shelf. because I want to screw into the shelf with those clamps. So this should get me about the middle of the shelf. We'll come down below the tank. Got a 90 here, or an elbow, or an L, all proper jargon. Yeah, that'll be all right. So what I need to do is turn that around, don't I? Trial and error. Because do I know what I'm doing? No, I don't. And I don't want to catch the extension cord in there. But what I do need to do is make this so there's enough room to turn that. All right, I think we got it. Okay, that's one. So I think we can kind of do this out there on the truck. I'll take a measurement here. That is 12 and 5/8. And then this one, 5.5. Let's take the cutters with us and go build a couple. All right, so those measurements were 12 and 5/8 and 5.5. This one will do. It's even pointing back towards the glass. Then this is going to be on the outside of the glass. All right, so let's see, 12 and 5/8. Let's turn it so it's just not in the way. Doesn't need to be in the way. 12 and 5/8. All right, and then 5.5. We're on the outside, so we're on the long piece. When they start getting stiff, there's a couple things you can do. Drop them in hot water. Use a lighter. Don't burn it, just heat it. There we go. And this goes here. Oh man, that's getting tough. There we go, that's all the way in. Now this one is going to need a T. Right? And it's got to go in this orientation, not this. Because what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the other tank into this and then go out that way. And that should be that. And one of these. I don't know what happened to the rest of that. This goes on. Let's go see what's next. All right, here we are on this tank now. And we'll come around the side again. I like that idea. And the valve can be there. Okay, and this T goes in that orientation. Let's get that part of an extension cord out of the way. And the line will come straight through like this, pick up the two pieces. And I think we can measure that now and put that piece in. And then we can even anchor it. We're looking at about 39 inches. I'm going to go cut that. I'll be right. Here's that piece of poly pipe, about 39 inches long. But down there on that crate, I've also got my drill, tech screws, the washers, and those clamps. Let's see if we can get this connected here. There we are. I'll tell you what, if this was a really hot day, I'd have that poly pipe just sitting out on the ground. Because it'll get, when I say a really hot day, it'll get well over 100 on a regular basis here. All right, so we've got that stretched out. And here we go. We can just plug it right in. And there we are, all the way. I guess one thing I can do is try and turn this so it lines up a little cleaner at this end. We can make those kind of adjustments, I think, afterwards. I think I'm going to use 2 clamps. Alrighty, so for those of you that don't know what these are a hexagonal headed screw, and they are self-drilling, self-tapping into metal. I think people refer to these as tech screws. So what you need for these is a little nut driver, though, because there's no screw slot there. And that they're usually magnetic, so that fits right in. All right, this will go into the drill motor. I got these little tiny washers that'll slide over it. I think keep the tech screw from going through the hole. There it goes, and it's in. Just took a little effort. And it's in. Then I know you're asking how the hell are you going to get water to come out of those since there's no water in them. We'll show you that in a bit. One step at a time. Now what we need to do is we need to get a length from here down to the end here. And I'm going to let it run along, and I'll put the 2 clamps in here. So from the T to the edge, 36 inches. It's long by 2.5, 3 inches, so that should be good. I'll tell you what, the nice thing about this poly pipe is when you're measuring, you can mark it with your thumbnail. That's all you need to do. So now we just need to get this one in, get a couple of the clamps, and again, make sure you got the right orientation on them. And we got enough to stick out there. Probably could have left a little more, but I think that'll be good. And that's it. One side's done. Let's do the other side. Alrighty, so let me catch you up. Yesterday we put in this side of the rack. All right, got the pipe all anchored, or the tubing all anchored around the bottom underneath here with these insulated pipe clamps, and ran it long so we can figure out what we're going to do on the end there. And we've got a sponge on the end of the pickup. Get my hand out of the way. All right, so we've got a sponge on the end of the pickup, goes up and over, comes down into this ball valve. Right now it's in the on position, and it goes down, connects into this line, and it'll drain out that way. These are the drains, remember. And remember, I cut 4 of them all at once. So one here, one on the end here, and then I went ahead and did these. We cut them together, but I went ahead and installed it all. I don't want to bore you to tears. Anchored the pipe tubing all the way down the end here. And on this end, I stuck a 90-degree elbow. And I think what's going to happen, it's going to go that way to some degree. I don't know if you saw that. It's going to go that way. All right, so next what I'm going to do is make 5 of the drain part rig. I'll make 5 of them for the tanks below here. Now they're going to go on the back side here. I'll put them on the back side, and I will anchor the piece of tubing all the way underneath also. So you don't need to watch that. I'll catch you back up after I build them all. So you saw me build 4 of these drain things, and you don't need to see it again. And one thing, when they're not quite pointing the way you want them to, just twist the pipe. That's what I just did here. Here, let's do it again. Here we can I'm grabbing it up top here, and I'm just going to give this pipe a little twist to turn it to get it closer to the corner of the glass there. So that's it. So we'll catch you in a minute. All right, so let's say I get you up to speed. Let's get out here on the end. All right, and what I've done was the front side here connects into this T. The back side comes around the corner, connects into this T, and drops down. And then the bottom side comes around this corner and connects into this T and drops down. All right. And this will swing out and swing back out of the way, which is kind of cool. That wasn't a plan, but they call that serendipity, a happy accident. So the next thing to do on this side is to charge it. But I'm going to do that after I finish assembling the intake side, the freshwater side. Let's go look at that and get you caught up there. All right, here we go. Let's start at the bottom, work our way up. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but on this stuff in here, I started at the far end and worked my way forward. Worked my way to the part where the drain hose connects, okay? And I always find that to be easier to do something like that. I used to do landscape irrigation sprinkler systems. Started the same way, worked my way from the farthest head back to the valves. That's what I did. Worked my way from the farthest intake all the way back to the valve, this final outgoing valve. And that final outgoing valve down there, what that's for is that's going to keep water in the line. Now, each one of these, let's just get up closer again. Now, each one of these individual tanks, you're welcome, once water is run through this pipe, okay, I'll hook up the garden hose down at that end, and flood these pipes, and it'll push water through here and out here. All right. And then once water's coming out here, I will turn this valve to the off position. Now, from now on, unless something happens, this pipe will have water in it from here all the way into the tank. Now, when I want to drain this tank, what I'll have to do, now let me back up a minute here. So then after these pipes are all charged and all in the off position, all right, I'll shut off that last valve down there. I'll shut off this valve down here, and that'll keep the whole system charged. And then when I'm ready, I'll hook up the garden hose down there, and I will open this valve, and I will open whatever valve I need to start draining the tanks. And it'll start an automatic siphon. At least that's the theory. Start an automatic siphon, and it'll come out of the hose. Now, when I'm done with said tank, then I shut that valve back off, and that keeps the upper part charged. Now, the only way I'm going to break that siphon is if I let this drain all the way to the bottom of this, and it starts sucking air. All right, so I'll have to recharge the system to do that. So we want to avoid that. It's a pain in the butt. It's not the end of the world. It's just a pain. So that's pretty much how this part works. And when I start charging it, you shall see. So now this is the inflow. This is the fresh water system here. So the fresh water will come in here, come in from the garden hose, make a 90-degree turn, go up into a valve, all right? Then go up into this T here, and this T will take me across this system. These valves will drop down. They'll go across. This part will be hanging under the shelf of the middle rack with the 29 gallons, and each one of these will dangle into one of the 20 gallons on the bottom shelf coming off of this T. All right. So what I need here, because I forgot to put it out, it's never a bad idea to lay all your fittings out. I need to put this T, or I need to put that elbow here. So it goes up and goes around, and then it comes into this, okay? All right, so then from that T, we come across to another elbow. We go up to the middle, the bottom of the top shelf, right above the 29 gallons on the middle shelf, and split off, all right? We split off, take a turn, because what we're going to do is go on either side of the light fixture. And those two 90s here will come back into these two here. And these will fill, got one more than I need on each one of these. So these will fill the 4 29-gallon tanks on the middle shelf. One's already started. I'll tell you what, it's easy to get the pipe or tubing onto these fittings. It is tough getting it on these valves though. So I got to mess with that. But anyway, that's it. Get you caught up. Then eventually, when I do, I'll figure out what the appropriate, got to grab another handful of this camera because I'm going to lose it here, what the appropriate lengths are. And again, I'm going to build my way from the farthest tank to the closer tank into that system here and head down. And then I will build my way on the 20 gallons from the farthest tank and work my way all the way back to this point, goes down. Then I'll connect the two systems and run it into the fill. And ideally, this thing's ready to go. No dry time or anything. All right, well, we're done. You see, I've got 5 valves running across the bottom here. And they're all pointing down. And then I've got up here 2 valves, one on this side, or 2 on this side, I should say, one at each tank. You're welcome. And then here also, one there and one over there. And ideally, the flow for a water change will come in from one end, go out the other. That's the plan. All right, and that's true with all these. On the bottom, the Gazauda is on the back side here. All right, and the Gazindas are on the front, kind of, mostly, pointing sort of frontish. All right, now I got the garden hose. Oh, let's go to the end here and show you everything here. That water's when I brought the garden hose in. It came out of the end of the garden hose. So far, nothing's leaking. We don't know. All right, so here's the fresh water coming around from both sides. Comes through this T, goes down. There's another T back here, picks up the 5 tanks down below, and goes out to this valve down here, and that'll turn. Now, eventually, I think all this stuff will straighten itself out because it's all been coiled up forever since they made it. And I'm guessing there's probably going to be some sort of adjustments too. Now, here goes. This hose is connected to the drain system. So we're going to charge the drain system first. So the hose is on. Now remember when you're doing this kind of stuff, I saw my finger there. So now remember when you're doing this kind of stuff, this is all drip irrigation stuff. It's low pressure, low volume. So we don't want to blow its doors off. So I didn't crack the hose up very full to very high flow, high pressure. Keep that in mind when you're using this kind of stuff. Now I'm going to open this. And we got leaks. We got a leak there. We'll have to come back and fix these. But we notice we're blowing air through all these. All right. And that means this is charged. No more air. So I'm going to shut it off. This is charged. No more air. Shut it off. I'm going to have to move quick. Shut it off. And shut it off. Now, I see a giant flaw in my plan. None of these bottoms have separate valves to them. They're still blowing air. So talk about a big faux pas. Should have caught that. And I got to deal with this leak here. So that's coming out of that compression fitting. I don't like that at all. So we'll have to deal with that. Well, here we are. I think we're done. A little bit of water on the floor. That was because I had to drain stuff back out. I don't remember if I put this in the video yesterday or not, so I'm going to put it in now, catch you all up. A bit of a faux pas. So this whole bottom row, I forgot to put the valves on. I couldn't control each tank, so this morning I had to go back to Home Despot and get a few more valves. So they're on now, and they're all in the off position. All the valves are in the off position right now, everything, okay? So that's all the permanent drain lines, which are these along the back here. One there for that 29-gallon tank. One here for this 29-gallon tank. One here for that 29-gallon tank. And one for that 29-gallon tank. That's all the permanent drain stuff. Let's come around to the end. And here's what I did extra. So the drain from this side comes around here, and I threw another valve on here. That way it'll just stop the water to this point. And then I threw another valve on this side. Same thing, just stop the water. So you don't want anything worth doing, right? And then across the bottom, I stuck another valve down there to just, it keeps the water in the main part of the line. Now, above each one of these valves, if this line drained, this would still stay charged from here to here. So I'd still have a siphon as soon as I opened this to the other end. So as long as this is closed, this side here going into the tank is still charged. So as long as this is closed, there's water all the way around. So as soon as this is open, it'll start a siphon and drain out. And that's true for all the tanks. Okay, and that's why I put the extra valves in there, just to hold this valve here. So if I open anything on the end here, this line stays charged here, so it just makes it easier to start that siphon. So yesterday, I was charging where the hose is going in right now. Follow that up, and it goes up. Well, let's go up to the first tee, and goes around, and it goes into all the 5 gallons. Right? Remember, that's the drain line. We go up to another tee, goes around this side, and then around this side, and that goes into the two sets of 29 gallons, two on each side. So I was filling, and I don't remember how it got away from me, but it did. And I couldn't shut the lower ones off because there was no valves on any of those. So I ran out and shut down. Well, first thing I did, I ran around and shut these top valves off. And then when I got to the other side, I realized I didn't have the valves down below. All right. So I shut all the top valves off except the one on the far end. Ow, I just walked into my chop saw. I forgot to shut this one down. So that's why this tank is so low, because it was draining out and backing up, and it was filling this tank. This tank flooding on the floor. So you know what? How many days since the last overflow? Well, yesterday was 0. Today it's 1 so far. So now what I'm going to do is plug a live hose into this and turn it on low. All the valves are closed, and I'm going to open one valve at a time, and we'll charge the permanent drains on all 9 tanks. So stick with me. Well, then it occurred to me. I thought, well, you know, I've got the permanent drain line on this one already. Why not put an inflow on it, a freshwater inflow here? So it took me about, I don't know, maybe half hour, 45 minutes to do that. I came back over here, the middle rack on this one, to this 29 gallon on the end, and I took the elbow off. They don't like coming out. Really had to cut the tubing to get it off. And put a T here, and then ran the tubing down to the end of this rack, and then up to the corner underneath this, and you could see the black line going there. And then it goes to this side, drops straight down, and then comes across. Let's go probably up better under here. Comes across here to another elbow, down into another valve. And now I can pretty much, I won't have to drag an in hose, freshwater hose into this. All I have to do is hook up the garden hose for the drain. So that keeps things a little simpler. So now I can drain and fill simultaneously, and hopefully I don't tick off my angelfish. They don't really like that, but you know what? It's good for the tank, I think. So we'll see. So anyway, that was just a quick, already retrofitting this system. Haven't even put up the video yet, so this is going to go into the video somewhere towards the end part. But I just want to show you what the possibilities are with this. You know, it's essentially without the glue, cut and paste, which makes it really easy to work on. So there's a problem. That's under pressure and it's leaking like hell. But it's not going to be under pressure all the time. So let's open this. So obviously you can see we got water here. Open that. Let's come up and come around this way. And we'll open this one. And then we'll open this one. We're blowing a lot of air out of the line because the hose that I had connected here had no water in it, just air. So as soon as this is full up to here, then I will shut this one off. I don't know what to do about that leak down there. Since that's on the drain line, it won't really be under anything but gravity on the way out. So hopefully then it just won't be a big deal. So we're just about done here. I know it startled the hell out of the fish, startled the hell out of me too. But it's going to do that on all of them because it's got air in all of them. All right, we're good on that tank. So I just shut this valve off. This has stopped filling. Let's go over to this tank. Same thing. Should blow some air. So I'm going to open it a little slower. There shouldn't be as much air in this. And we'll let this one fill. Now, since there were no valves across the bottom, they're all pretty full. We'll go through and top them off. And then we'll put water on the live, the incoming side, and we'll see if we can actually do a water change as intended. And again, I didn't turn the volume up very high on the faucet outside. I don't want to blow anything apart. You got to remember this is all drip. It's not made for high pressure. So probably at the most like 30 PSI. All right, this one's good. Now we can quarter turn. It's a ball valve, just a quarter turn. And this one's going to take a little longer, so let's do the guppies first. Oh, you know what? I got rid of all the guppies. Oh, wait, you know what? Nothing's going to happen here until we open this one. All right, now we can open this one, and we'll go close that other one because we don't need this one open anymore. So far, this part seems to work all right. We'll see how it works when it's not under pressure, when it's actually cycling water out. All right, well, you get the gist. I'll come back and do that. We'll shut that one off and turn this one on. So we got water coming through all these. Yay. All right, and I'll just let these fill up. Okay, we're back. So to purge the air out of the lower rack, I started at the end closest to the source and opened them one at a time. Push all the air out. And so now all of these are charged, theoretically. So let's see about the filling. So hopefully this will work. Got a lot of water because something here by my toe is leaking like hell. And I got to figure it out, and I just don't feel like doing that right now. So we're just going to let that go. But this is the drain, so it's under gravity, so it shouldn't be as messy. So let's do the top first and see how they're doing. You know, I see this valve leaking, and that means this valve, this one's on. Actually, it's not, because I've got this other valve here. Oh, it's on part way. There we go. So now it's on. And so these aren't really good seals. I don't know. That's not good. If these are irrigation valves, you're not saving any water. So this valve down here is open. So let's go up here. Maybe there's just some stuff in it. So this is the first one. I'm going to stand off to the side because we got to get a lot of air out of these too. And I did turn the pressure very low at the, you hear the air coming out. Oh, up and over. So days since an overflow, 0. Well, that one's filled to the gills. So is this. So we're on the other side. And I think we can try a water change. So we got some water going in the tanks. Let's get some water going out of the tanks. Let's do these two. I think we can do them together. All right, first thing I'm going to do is open the lower one down here. And then I'm going to open this one here. All right, and then let's open these. So these let the water out of the tank. All right. Now let's go make sure we got water coming out of the end of the hose. The permanent drain line should be draining. All right, there it is. So that's working. So we got water going in, water going out. Now the key is to throttle the valves so that way they sort of meet in between. Now the drains are wide open, and obviously these fresh water are not. So I can even maybe throttle this back some. I still hear air coming out. Okay, and that's what I needed to do, was purge all the air. Now those valves are open. Let's reopen this hose a little bit. We can go full blast now, I think. Shouldn't be too much water. So I can probably turn them up at the faucet, but that's good. That can run slow. And if water starts draining faster than water goes in, well, I can just close this down a little bit until I find a happy medium. So there's going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some adjustments. But it sure seems like it's working. And I wouldn't be surprised if I could do all 4 of these at the same time without making a big mess. So let's open this one. And let's open this. We don't have a lot of water coming out of these. I might have to go turn more up at the faucet and open this one. So yeah, I've got a really low flow. Got no water coming out of this end because it's, oh, and I got to open this if I'm going to do that. There we go. To let it, I forgot to open that. So that way, otherwise water's coming in and yeah, I can overflow it again. Maybe just 2 at a time. Maybe just 2 at a time. Let's close this one. We'll close this, close this, close this, And just because we'll close this one on the main, and then we'll go back over here. And we got a good flow coming down out of both of those. So theoretically, I can let this run for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. I should probably put something under there to measure just how many gallons per minute are coming out. Maybe make a mark on the faucet. I'm just going to leave it low though. I don't want to blow. I was going to say blow shit apart, but I don't want to say that on YouTube. Oh my God. So yeah, I don't want to blow stuff apart. So, but I can adjust these just a little more. Slow this outflow down a little bit. There's nothing we can do about the freshwater flow right now because it's full blast here. It's as much here, the one in front. It's full blast there as much as I turned it up at the faucet. So if I want more, I got to go turn it up more. And I am just not happy with that drain system over there, leaking like hell. The outflow. Don't know why. Don't know what didn't work. I'm going to have to take it all apart and put it back together. I've got parts, so we'll do that. All right, a word about the valves. This kind of came to me when I was taking everything apart and coiling up the garden hoses and all. These last two bottom valves, that one there, on the outflow, and this one over here for the fresh water, actually serve a great purpose because when I disconnect the hoses, that inflow line would drain all the way up to past here, all the way up to here, all over the floor. And I got enough water on the floor right now. And then the same thing with the outflow valve. If I didn't have that one, it would drain everything up to the valves. So this way, everything stays relatively charged. And ideally, no more air in the lines afterwards. So now when I plug in the garden hose to the outflow, I open that, then I open that one, and that drain, and then I can open these valves on the bottom side one at a time and drain the tanks one at a time. And the garden hose goes in, that valve opens right there, and we can do the bottom. If we're doing the bottom on this side, then we open these valves one at a time, let the water cycle. And I think low enough pressure, I can do all 5 at a time. I'm going to have to get the pressure right because as we saw, I had the pressure quite low and I was only getting water out of 3 of the 4 valves up top there. So a little higher pressure or just do a couple at a time, probably less chance for a mistake. So go ahead and do an entire water change on a tank. And it's more than just a water change, I think. It's actually cycling water through, putting fresh water in, letting fresh water go out at the same time. You can let that run for as long as you're comfortable, as long as your fish are comfortable. And in my case, then when it's all said and done, I've got to go put a dechlorinator in here because we've got chlorine and chloramines in our water. And so also there's going to be some adjustments. I got to figure out what that leak is. I've got to, I came through here. This valve the tip was in the water. So I added another zip tie up top and pulled it up a little bit out of the water. And then it's just a matter of, any fine tuning. This is a work in progress. I've never done anything like this before other than that permanent fill rig that I built there. And that was just one. It was really pretty easy and it was all PVC. And that's just dead simple to work with. Turns out this poly pipe and all the drip fittings, pretty easy to work with also. If you got anything out of this, I hope you'll consider hitting that like button. And if you're new to the channel, I hope I've earned your subscription. If you'd like to join, we have memberships available. They're $2.99 a month. And that gives you first dibs on a lot of these kind of how-to videos I put out. And there will also be members-only streams and members-only videos that'll come out. So I'll keep y'all hopefully entertained and hopefully educated too. It's something I like to do. I like to learn stuff myself and share what I've learned with you guys out there in the YouTube world. So I love y'all. I'm grateful for you being here. And like I always say, thanks for looking.